On the cool, foggy morning of June 12, 1962, a profound silence hung over Alcatraz Island. This was not the usual, oppressive quiet. It was a silence filled with a dawning, impossible truth. In 3 separate cells, the routine morning head count was about to shatter the myth of the world's most inescapable prison. Guards peering into the dim cells of B Block saw what they expected to see. 3 inmates lay still in their bunks, heads on pillows, seemingly asleep. But when one man, Alan West, failed to emerge, a guard's prodding revealed a shocking sight. The head on the pillow was not human. It was a carefully crafted decoy, plaster, paint, and real human hair. The alarm ripped through the island. A frantic search confirmed the unthinkable. 2 other cells, Frank Morris, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, were empty. Their beds held lifelike dummy heads. The men were gone, not shot, not hiding in the yard. They had simply vanished, leaving haunting sculptures and a gaping hole in the rock's reputation. The trio at the heart of this audacious plot were not ordinary criminals. They were a unique combination of intelligence, grit, and camaraderie. The mastermind, Frank Lee Morris, orphaned young, raised in institutions with a long record, and exceptional intelligence, reportedly in the top 2%. Quiet, resourceful, and practiced at slipping out of lesser prisons. Flanking him, brothers John and Clarence Anglin. They came from a large family of farm laborers and a life of robberies. Not intellectuals, but fiercely loyal, practical, and skilled with their hands. They knew Morris from time in Atlanta. Trust already forged. A 4th, Alan West, joined the plot, but was left behind on escape night. From West, authorities later pieced together the plan. Tools, methods, timing. Together they formed a perfect storm. Morris the strategist, the Anglin's strength, skills, and bond. West's labor, all with decades to lose and one purpose to gain. Life on Alcatraz was a study in monotonous, soul-crushing routine. Inmates were confined to small, 5 by 9 foot cells for 16 to 23 hours a day. Concrete walls, a steel door, a small sink, a toilet, and a narrow cot. Rules were absolute, enforced with an iron will. Infractions could land a man in D Block, the hole. Punishment by isolation. On clear nights, laughter and music drifted from San Francisco. Cruel reminders of freedom. Inside, a rigid community ran on jobs and schedules under watchful gun galleries. But beneath the surface, a covert network passed whispers, plans, and small items. Morris and the Anglins mapped guard routines to the minute. Alcatraz's strength, predictability, would become its weakness. The most ingenious element was the creation of the dummy heads. Not crude props, but macabre art, built to fool cursory glances. They mixed soap, toilet paper, and concrete dust. Into a papier-mâché pulp, they shaped into human heads. Distinct features mimicked sleeping faces. Realism was everything. Paint, smuggled out in small amounts, gave skin tone, and real hair, scavenged from the prison barbershop. Bit by bit, a startlingly realistic hairline emerged. After final head count, they arranged decoys and bulked blankets to fake bodies. A routine glance was all they needed to buy time. Inches away, behind disguised panels, the real work continued. The ruse leaned on predictability. Guards trained to spot absence, not a believable presence. Paint and stolen hair in gloom and beam were convincing enough. The escape began with slow, silent demolition. The weak point, 6 by 9-inch vents opening to an unguarded utility corridor. Salt air had softened the concrete around them. They built a drill from a stolen fan motor and used broken saw blades. They worked at night, masked by prison sounds, and during music hour, when Morris played his accordion. Debris disappeared down toilets, bit by bit. Fake wall sections and matching vent covers hid progress by day. This took months, each chip a victory. When the holes enlarged, they slipped behind their cells into the void. A real, gaping proof of the path they carved. A 3-foot-wide, unlit artery threaded the block. They climbed a maze of pipes to a hidden attic-like space. There, they assembled life preservers and an inflatable raft. They wrangled a roof vent, bolts eased with a homemade wrench. On June 11th, the decoys took their final shift. Morris and the Anglins slipped into the walls and climbed to the roof. Alan West's panel had set too hard. He fought in silence. Too late. On the roof, fog weighed heavy. Bay wind bit through soaked clothes. They moved with precision across a rooftop 60 feet high, angling for a smokestack. They shimmied down a 12-foot vent to a lower roof. Then down 2 stories, industrial noise masking their steps. Over months, they hoarded more than 50 raincoats. Stolen supplies and pipe heat sealed rubber seams into airtight panels. Panels formed an inflatable raft, with makeshift vests and a plywood paddle. They slipped to a blind spot on the island's northeast shore. A modified concertina served as a compact air pump. At last, a fragile craft 6 by 14 feet met the surf. Frank, John, Clarence. They launched into 50-degree water. Currents tugging toward the Pacific, city lights faint on the horizon, and disappeared. By morning June 12th, shockwaves hit Alcatraz. Confusion turned to organized panic. The warden locked down the island. Teams scoured cells, workshops, and storage. They bagged the heads, hauntingly calm, almost alive. Holes and service tunnels exposed months of planning. The search expanded into the bay. The FBI joined what became one of America's largest manhunts. Cutters, patrol boats, and helicopters scoured cold waves. Clues surfaced. A paddle near Angel Island, a plastic-wrapped wallet, shredded raft, raincoat preservers. Investigators feared the bay swallowed them, but no bodies were found. After 10 days, they had vanished without a trace. For years, leads flickered. Funeral sightings, postcards, rumors. None proven. The legend grew as certainty receded. Decades later, the story refuses to fade. Officially, the men likely drowned. The case remains open, but prevailing theory credits the bay. Experts cite frigid temperatures and unpredictable currents. Recovered fragments suggest a failing vessel. Yet a counter-narrative points to their ingenuity and survival. A signed card, a 1970s photo in Brazil. Deathbed whispers, all tantalizing, none conclusive. One theory, land at Angel Island, crossed to the Marin Headlands, timed with tides and cloaked in fog. Did they perish in dark waters or outsmart prison and sea? Today, tourists peer into their cells and stare at the lifelike heads that fooled the guards. Across the chop, the city glitters. So close, so far. Whether freedom or watery grave, their legend remains. A timeless question mark floating in the fog between the rock and the shore.